Nintendo is a multi-billion-dollar cult that has brainwashed 3 generations of children into thinking a red Italian plumber jumping on turtles is the pinnacle of gaming. They've successfully charmed us into buying the same game 8 times, pre-ordering a port of a port like it's a fucking second coming, and we spend our evenings on Reddit arguing with strangers whether a certain fictional animal should be passed on or smashed on. Smash. It's chaotic, and it's beautiful, in an uncultured sort of way. But today, we're ranking their children. That's right, we're taking Nintendo's biggest franchises and we're putting them through the 7 levels of greatness. And we know some of you are going to be pissed off, but we don't care about your favorites, and we don't care about your childhood memories, and we certainly don't care about what the fuck Donkey Kong did for you during your parents' divorce. We just care about the cold hard facts, sales numbers, critical acclaim, cultural impact, and most objectively, my opinion. We're starting at the bottom, the forgotten husks that Nintendo left bleeding out in a ditch somewhere in 2004, and we're working our way up to the god tier level where one franchise stands above all. So buckle up, buckaroos, because by the time this video is ended, half of you are going to unsubscribe, the other half are going to leave death threats in the comment section, and I'm going to feel great about all of it. Let's fucking go. Welcome to level 1. The forgotten ones. To be in this level, you're functionally dead. You're not coming back. Your fans are surviving on pure copium. They're clinging to hope like it's the early 2000s and Captain Falcon still matters. Speaking of, let's start with F-Zero. F-Zero has a higher Metacritic average score than Animal Crossing, 83.7. It is a masterclass in futuristic racing. It's good. And Nintendo looked at that franchise, looked at its critical acclaim, and said, yeah, we're not going to make another one of those for 22 fucking years. That's longer than some of you have been alive. Also in this level, we have Star Fox. I mean, this thing was a masterpiece on the SNES. It had genuinely revolutionary 3D graphics, and it went from that all the way to whatever the hell Star Fox Zero is, a game with such monumentally fucked controls, it felt like you were having a stroke while trying to pilot a plane in a hurricane. Its Metacritic score is a pathetic 78.1, which honestly to me feels generous. People think Nintendo just forgot about Star Fox, but I feel it was a mercy killing. They took it round the back and shot it dead like Old Yeller. Except Old Yeller was a good dog. Star Fox is just an abomination. Welcome to level 2. Solid B-tier games. This doesn't mean that they're bad though. I want to be very clear here. These are good games. They're solid games. They're fine. They're competent. They're the missionary position of Nintendo IPs, but you're not exactly getting your back blown out. I mean, it gets the job done, but you're not adding new pages to the Kama Sutra. Take Wii Sports, for example, and now I hear you guys clicking and clacking on the keyboard saying, oh, but it sold 83 million copies, and oh, it's the best-selling Nintendo game of all time. Well, if that's the case, you two had the most downloaded album of all time. Huh? What do you mean they won't understand the U2 reference? Why wouldn't they know who U2 is? How young is my audience? What? Why would Nintendo content bring in a younger audience? Then there's Animal Crossing. And look, I know some of you have Tom Nook pin-up posters, and I know New Horizons got you through 2020, but let's be real. Huh? It was the pandemic. We would have bought anything just to give us brief respite from the existential crushing dread of the world ending around us. We had to watch Tiger King, for fuck's sake. The franchise's average Metacritic score is a sleepy 76.6. It is a game about doing chores to pay off a mortgage to a raccoon who's definitely running a pyramid scheme. It is a second job that doesn't pay you. Unfortunately, Pikmin is here too. Sorry, Arlo. Look, I love those little guys like they're my own little children. I grieve for every single Pikmin death like I'm attending the funeral of a close family member, but we need to talk about those numbers. They sold 13 million units across 9 games. That's less than 1.5 million per game. And hey, I know Pikmin only has 4 games if you choose to correctly ignore Hey Pikmin, but the reason why we land on number 9 is from the amount of re-releases that Nintendo releases of these games until they get sweet release from the poor sales and they get a new lease on life. Nintendo has made a B-tier franchise with Pikmin. The only reason why it exists is through sheer stubbornness. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Level 3, the Rising Stars. These are the games with momentum. These are the games that were in life support or didn't even exist 10 years ago, and now they're speedrunning their way up to the upper echelons of Nintendo's roster. These are their success stories. Let's talk about Fire Emblem. This series was dead. Like Nintendo had the plug in their hands ready to pull it dead. Fire Emblem Awakening was meant to be the swan song before Nintendo diagnosed it with dead and buried it right next to Captain Falcon. But Fire Emblem Awakening did something magical. It sold 2.2 million copies. Now this may not seem like a lot compared to Mario's billions, but to Fire Emblem, they had started to reverse their fate. Pun not intended. Three Houses went on to sell over 4 million copies, and they had begun to engage with the big boys. Pun not intended. The secret ingredient? Waifus. And husbandos. I'm not going to stop you having a gay den. Pun intended. Enforced. It only succeeded because they added romance options. Complex political intrigue? No. Tactical strategy gameplay? No thank you. The ability to fuck your students? Now that's what prints money. Fire Emblem went from we're cancelling this to classes cancelled. And then there's Splatoon. A new IP. And I want you to really take this in. Nintendo doesn't do new IPs, except for ARMS Shut the Fuck Up. They recycle the same 12 characters since 1985, but they did it anyway, and they put it on the Wii U, a console that performed so badly, it made the Virtual Boy look good. But despite that, despite everything, Splatoon somehow went on to become a cultural phenomenon in Japan. Japan doesn't do Call of Duty. Japan doesn't do Battlefield. Japan doesn't do shooters. They do Dragon Quest and they cry about it. But Splatoon somehow broke through, because apparently they got that genius of a mix of Squid Kid and Kid Squid, and they sold 30 million copies. And in 2022, Splatoon 3 sold 3.5 million copies in 3 days. They broke the record for the fastest selling video game of all time in Japan. For a game that didn't exist before 2015, that's pretty fucking cooked. These franchises clawed their way up from either the dead or sheer nothingness. It's proof that Nintendo can sell things when they actually try, instead of re-releasing Twilight Princess for the 4th time. Which apparently you should fucking do because everyone wants that or something. Fans. Welcome to level 4. Games that are god tier. At one specific thing. Your mum. I'm sorry. Metroid doesn't sell. Like, at all. Over 40 years, it sold 20 million units. To Mario, that is a rounding error. But we wouldn't have modern gaming without Metroid. The term Metroidvania exists for one reason. It's not called Mariovania, it's not called Kirbyvania, and it's certainly not called Megalovania. It is called Metroidvania. It's a whole ass genre. This type of game design is built on the back of this one series about a woman in a spacesuit shooting aliens on a desolate planet. And a sexy vampire slayer. Metroid has a Metacritic average score of 83.3 because it's a masterclass in exploration, atmosphere, and existential loneliness. Also, it's got the GOAT, Miles McKenzie. It is the thinking person's Nintendo game for someone who wants a bit more depth than Big Brain Academy. And then you've got Donkey Kong with a Metacritic average of 81.7. This is the blue-collared workhorse of the video game industry. Look, it is not as flashy as Mario because it doesn't have the same marketing budget, but it is mechanically perfect. It is tough as nails, it is brilliantly designed, and it has some of the best music ever composed for a video game, full stop. David Wise did not need to go that hard for a video game about a gorilla wearing a tie, collecting bananas and the letters to his own name. But he did it. He did it for us. Okay, so here we are finally at level 5, the multiplayer titans. They're the reason we have trust issues. They're responsible for approximately 90% of all broken friendships and of course your destroyed controllers. To be in this tier, you have to transcend being just a game. Case in point. Super Smash Bros. With a staggering 89 average Metacritic score, it is a fighting game, and it is also a playable gaming museum of history. It is a chaotic, beautiful disaster where a space fox can beat the absolute shit out of a yoga instructor while a balloon takes a nap on the sidelines. It is a series so beloved that its character reveals are treated like the papal inaugurations. The internet literally explodes every time Sakurai announces a new fighter. It doesn't matter if it's another anime sword fighter or a literal PNG of an L block from Tetris. People lose their minds. Seriously, look up any Smash character announcement reaction on YouTube. Apparently, the only socially acceptable way for a man to cry is over the reveal of Sora in Smash Bros. It's a cultural phenomenon that has dominated parties, living rooms, and competitive scenes for nearly 3 decades. And right alongside it, sitting pretty in the same tier, you have Mario Kart, the game where skill is completely secondary to the whims of a vengeful blue shell. With an 86.7 Metacritic average, Mario Kart is the most accessible, most infuriating, and most universally beloved racing game on the planet. It has sold hundreds of millions of copies because it is the perfect party game. Alright, deep breath. We are now in the stratosphere. Level 6, the Untouchable legends. These are the multi-billion-dollar behemoths that have transcended video games entirely to become permanent fixtures of human culture. Like Disney, like wealth inequality, like AI slop on YouTube, they are inevitable. To be in this tier, you have to be one of the most successful entertainment properties in the history of human civilization. Obviously, you've got Mario, the mustachioed plumber who refuses to die. The main series alone boasts an 88.5 Metacritic average, with multiple games hitting 97 or higher. Galaxy got 97. Odyssey got 97. Hell, even Super Mario Bros. Wonder, a 2D platformer in 2023, got 92. The entire franchise has sold over 900 million games and grossed over $60 billion with a B. And then there's Pokémon. Pokémon is the single highest grossing media franchise in human history. And no, this isn't just Nintendo properties. This isn't just video games. This is everything. All media ever created. It has made more money than Star Wars, more money than the Marvel Cinematic Universe, more money than Winnie the Pooh, more than even Mickey Mouse and Friends. Which I guess was literally everything I just listed. Sheesh, Disney really owns everything, doesn't it? Pokemon has generated $115 billion. That number is wild. It is incomprehensible to me. That's like, we could probably buy New Zealand kind of money. Unfortunately though, with that kind of money, they obviously think they can just do whatever. They have permission to no longer try, and I've talked about this before. I've made a whole video about their predatory business practices with Pokemon TCG Pocket, for example. Game Freak has been coasting on the bare minimum for a decade. And I don't need to tell you that. Like, Scarlet and Violet released running at what I could only describe as a PowerPoint presentation frame rate, and it still sold 25 million copies. They could release a game called Fuck You, Give Us Money, where the only gameplay is watching a Pikachu stand still for 40 hours, and it would still sell millions. But that's the thing about being level 6. When you're this big, you don't have to innovate. You don't have to try. You just have to exist, and the money will appear. They're in a league of their own. They're untouchable by any other entertainment property. They're titans. They're not level 7, because there's still one franchise left. What could be possibly higher than a $100 billion global empire? What sits above commercial titans that have defined entertainment for multiple decades? Welcome to level 7. The Apex. Now, there is only one franchise here. It stands alone at the top of the mountain, looking down at everyone else. And it's not here because it makes the most money. No, it's not even close. It's here because it has earned something far more rare. Universal, undisputed respect. We're of course talking about the legend of Zelda. Now, I know Pokémon dwarves Zelda commercially, and Mario outsells it by hundreds of millions of copies. But that's not what this level is about. Level 6 was about commercial domination, about building empires and printing money, but level 7 is about artistic perfection. The Legend of Zelda has the single highest average Metacritic score of any Nintendo franchise in history, 89.6. It has more games rated 90 or above than any other Nintendo series. Zelda has 13 games over 90. Its consistency is at the highest possible level. And you cannot talk about The Legend of Zelda without bringing up Ocarina of Time, which holds a 99 on Metacritic. It is the highest score ever given to any video game by the most comprehensive review aggregator on the planet. It is the only 99 in existence. Every other game in history, every masterpiece, every genre-defining title, every Game of the Year winner is below it. According to the collective critical consensus of humanity, Ocarina of Time is the single greatest video game ever made. Full stop. End of discussion. And they just keep doing it. They reinvented the entire open world genre with Breath of the Wild. They perfected 2D adventure games with A Link to the Past. They made an ageless visual masterpiece on the GameCube, a console that got its ass kicked by the PS2 with Wind Waker. They made another masterpiece on that same dying GameCube with Twilight Princess. And then they made another masterpiece on the Wii with Twilight Princess. And just when you think they couldn't outdo themselves, they made another masterpiece on the Wii U with Twilight Princess. So you know it's going to be a great day when they release another masterpiece on the Switch/Switch 2 and they release Twilight Princess for the 4th time. Seriously, why does everyone want this? I don't get it. Zelda is the franchise that critics worship. It's the one property that Nintendo treats both as a product to be sold and as art to be perfected. Sure, Mario and Pokémon are the kings of commerce. They're unkillable forces of capitalism. They print money. They always will. But Zelda is the king of the craft. It is proof that you can be commercially successful and artistically brilliant. It is the apex predator of the video game world. And it stands alone.